Guys, coming at you for another. Well, this is a TV show review. This is for the Supernatural Season 6 review. Now, this is after the Apocalypse season, so I'm gonna go through episode by episode, and whatever I can fit in, I'll do it probably in parts and let you know my thoughts on them. So, episode 1 goes Exile on Main Street or something. It was where Sam comes back from hell and Dean's just living a normal life with Lisa and other people he's associated with. And he gets driven back in it when he keeps seeing that Zazel, the yellow-eyed demon's like messing with him. But no, it's not. It's some kind of djinn that touched him in the bar or whatever that gave him her number. But yeah, this episode was pretty good for a moment. I think this is getting a 4.5 out of 5 because there are things in it that are okay with season 6. And the first episodes, they meet Samuel. Well, Dean meets Samuel, but Sam's been with Samuel for a while. But I can get more into that in a little bit on this review. But episode 1's getting a 4.5 out of 5. Episode 2's with this shape-shifting baby or whatever that transforms a lot. It's a little disgusting. And they have to... But it's the alpha son or whatever, so it's like the king of all shapeshifters. So it's the alpha shapeshifter's son or whatever. That's... They're trying to keep away from him. But no, in the end they had to. So I'm giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 as well. Because, yeah, there are things in it that are okay. Episode 3, which was... episode 3 was with, where they meet Castiel again when he comes back from heaven. And he's like, oh, I don't have much time to talk. I gotta fight my way, find Raphael and all that, and kill him, and stop him or whatever. But Sam and Dean called him and lied to them about that they found another thing or something. And people are dying by this or whatever. And Balthazar actually is in this or whatever. Or the guy from General Hospital or whatever. And he's a pretty good actor. And this kid or whatever sold his soul to Balthazar just to get this piece or whatever. And it's been causing accidents or whatever, and killing people in mysterious ways. Unexplainable things happen with these people. And they get killed. I think this episode will get a 4.5 out of 5 as well. And they do confront Raphael again. Castiel, Sam, and Dean do. And I think Castiel mostly, but Balthazar finds a way to destroy his vessel or whatever. So, and then they trap Balthazar, and then he has to return the boy's soul, or they're gonna deep fry him in holy water. But yeah, I meant holy oil or something. I think this episode is okay. It's getting a 4.5 out of 5. Episode 4, Weekend at Bobby's. This one is where Bobby's just by himself. This is a whole episode about Bobby. So he has to help Dean and Sam all the time when he answers their calls and figures out a way to kill these monsters. And yeah, he runs into Rufus or whatever. He's like, listen, you gotta bury a body for me. And he's like, what? And he's like, monsters these days and all that. And he's like, Sam and Dean are hunting a Lamia. And they're like, I thought a Lamia was supposed to be in Japan or something. They're like, yeah. But this episode will get a 4.5 out of 5. It was all about Bobby getting his soul back from Crowley, and Crowley kept refusing and denying, and he's like, oh, I want this soul because I can. So Crowley's being the usual dick he is. And it does end with Bobby or whatever's taking another phone call or whatever. So this episode will get a 4.5 out of 5. Episode 5. Let's see, what was episode 5? I think that was where Dean turns into a vampire or whatever and has to hunt down these people or whoever that are trying to. Yeah, he has to hunt down this vampire's nest or whatever just to destroy them and all that, and then they pretty much have to find a way to cure Dean, but they have to. The only way to do that is to get the blood from the vampire who bit him, and then he has to take this juice that Samuel gives him, this cure thing or whatever. He's like, oh, no, we don't have to kill you. We just turn you back. But this episode's getting a 4.5 out of 5. What was messed up about it is Sam actually allowed Dean to get bitten by a vampire. And yeah, that's a curious observation. So, yeah. Episode 6, I think this was the Tell the Truth chick or whatever. Some kind of goddess or whatever who's like, you have to tell the truth even if it's pretty ugly. Yeah, she tries to tell the truth, tries to tell Sam to tell the truth, but he can't. And he's like, he kind of lies or whatever, and she's like, no. She's like, what are you or whatever. And yeah, that's where Dean gets worried and is like, what? But yeah, I think this episode will get a 4.5 out of 5 as well. That's what it was. Episode 7, this is where they find out where it's happening to Sam, and Castiel's there as well. And they're like, who are you and what have you done to Sam? He's like, I am me. And then Castiel asks him, he's like, what do you feel? He's like, not physical, I mean emotional. Like, how do you feel or something? It's like, I don't know. And then he digs into his inside Sam or whatever with his arm and finds out his soul's gone. And like, he's back intact, but the soul's gone. It's still in the cage. And yeah, then they meet up with Samuel again and find the alpha vampire, the daddy of all vampires. And they trap him and try to find out where Purgatory is, and no. And this is where you find out where Samuel is Crowley's bitch. And yeah, it gets pretty bad from there. I think after this one will get a 4.5 out of 5 as well. It's a decent episode, but it's not to the best. Christian dies, the guy that's with Samuel, and he actually becomes a demon. So yeah. Episode 8, this is where they find out that they have to work for Crowley because he's Samuel's Crowley's bitch, and said in the last episode, I snap my fingers, Sam gets his soul back, or I put Sam back into the hole or whatever. Or throw Sam back into the cage. And yeah. They have to bag a alpha dog or whatever, or something. Or something like that. But yeah, this is with the dog thing or whatever, where these people change into dogs or whatever, so this one was okay. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. It's not a bad one, it just is okay. Episode 9, this was the alien one where they think it's an alien that's abducting people, this person or whatever, and something, but no, it's about leprechauns. He made a deal with the shopper that if he'd send his workers, but his sacrifice would be they want his son. And he didn't get his son back, and then these leprechauns or whatever just they had to send him back. So Sam actually did that. And this episode's okay. A 4.5 out of 5. Episode 10, I believe, is where Caged Heat, where they go after Crowley and find out how to get Sam's soul back, and they run into Meg, who's running away from Crowley, and well, Meg captures him, Sam and Dean, at first. And then they run into Samuel, just trying to see if they can get an inside man for that, but then everything goes wrong, and then they get trapped in there, and they kind of have to find a way to escape, because Samuel's the one that stopped them. And at the end of it, Castiel shows up after they find a way out to escape from their prison cells and all that, or whatever. And Castiel confronts Crowley and is like, can you restore Sam's soul or not? And he said no, and then he lit Crowley up he just lit him on fire and destroyed his bones. So this episode's getting a 4.5 out of 5, and Sam thinks he doesn't want his soul back. Episode 11, this is going to be the last one I'm explaining. I'll have to do the rest of it on the next part. This is Appointment in Samahara. This is where you see Robert Englund, who played Freddy Krueger, and he's like this doctor who helps the Winchesters out in times of crisis. Or something like that, I don't know. But yeah, Dean meets up with Death, but he has to die in order to do that. So he has to die for a little bit. And then comes back, and Death wants him to put on the ring for 24 hours to be him, and then he can go get Sam's soul. But sadly, Dean failed because he couldn't do it. Because he hesitated to reap a little girl. And it's sad to think, yes, it's hard to do that, but that's what happened. And he got Sam's soul, and they had to make sure Sam was bound, make sure he wasn't going to be any trouble, and he kind of was. He was kind of beating up on Bobby and all that. And then Death comes in his room, and he's like, I'm going to put your soul back, and he said, don't scratch the wall. He's like putting a barrier behind that and making sure he doesn't scratch the walls. And yeah, this episode's getting a 4.5 out of 5. And Sam's soul's kind of getting restored now. So I'll be back in the next part for this to explain the last 11 episodes, or however many I can do. I'll see you in the next episode, next video.